Hello, everyone, and welcome to Warcraft Daily's very first live stream event. This is something that is brand new for us. Normally, we just do blogs on our website, warcraftdaily.com, but today we thought, given the current events that were announced at BlizzCon this year, that I thought that we would go ahead and just do just a live stream. Just get it out there, just do everything, just have fun doing it, and yeah, so let's get started here. So, World of Warcraft Shadowlands. A lot of people for a very long time were thinking about a Shadowlands sort of expansion, something that just expanded on what happens after your character dies, what happens in the world of Azeroth once, what is the afterlife in World of Warcraft. So, coming next year, World of Warcraft Shadowlands is going to definitely be a thing. So that is something that I am very, very excited about. So here is the logo. It is a wonderful logo. I love the black and white aesthetic of the logo. It's just something that really brings out, what the Shadowlands is actually about, and it is the afterlife. So, part of the afterlife part of the Shadowlands. What actually brought about this whole thing about the Shadowlands? Why is it a thing right now? So, what I do have is I do have the cinematic for World of Warcraft Shadowlands. So, let's go ahead and take a look at it.
Ice Crown. A monument to our suffering. The veil between life and death. Where a usurper sits on a frozen throne. But no king rules forever. fit to wear this crown. To wield so much power.
That power will be your prison.
This world is a prison. Set us all free.
All right. So that was just a wonderful cinematic. Definitely wild props go out to the cinematic team for that awesome cinematic. So basically, what is the Shadowlands? So the veil between life and death is no more. With a single act of destruction, as you saw within the cinematic itself, Sylvanas Windrunner ripped open the way to the afterlife. And Azeroth's defenders have been dragged into this all-consuming darkness. An ancient force of death threatens to break its bonds and unravel reality. And this is directly from the official site, so I'm not just making anything up here. Hidden realms of wonder and horror await any who would pass to the other side. The Shadowlands is home to an entire realm of the departed. It is a world between worlds whose delicate balance preserves life and death itself. So you, as one of Azeroth's greatest champions, have been granted the power to cross over in body and in soul. Now, you must investigate a conspiracy to unmake the cosmos and help Warcraft Legends journey back, or fulfill their ultimate destiny. Alright, so in the press release, which I do have a copy of right in front of me right here, so I will quickly read through this before we get into the fun stuff of our nice little live stream event right here. Sylvanas Windrunner has torn open the veil between Azeroth and the afterlife, jeopardizing the fragile balance between the realms of life and death. To ensure that the cosmic order is preserved, Azeroth's champions must set out on a journey into the realms of the afterlife to deal with the consequences of Sylvanas' actions. World of Warcraft Shadowlands is the 8th expansion for Blizzard Entertainment's acclaimed massively multiplayer online role-playing game, and it sends players to the ultimate undiscovered frontier, the Shadowlands, an infinite plane where the souls of the dead go to be reborn, serve, do battle, and endure endless torment. There, Azeroth's heroes must forge bonds with the powerful beings who hold dominion over the Shadowlands. Among them are some of the most iconic figures in the Warcraft universe, and acquire the unearthly powers they need to uncover the extent of Sylvanas' designs. Explore the realm of the dead. So for the first time in World of Warcraft, cross over into the Shadowlands, a realm of infinite afterlives where wonders and horrors abound. Ride across the gleaming fields of Bastion, which we'll get to in a second. Lose yourself among the gothic spires of Revendreth, which we'll also get to in a second. And confront the twisted visions of the Maw. Again, we'll get to that. And more. So the whole press release is available on Blizzard's press site. It is blizzard.gamespress.com, and anyone could download these press releases free of charge. So, what about some of the features about Shadowlands? So, as we already know, you explore the realm of the dead. You cross over into the Shadowlands. You catch glimpses of the Shadowlands in places like when your character dies, you see the Shadowlands, a whole black and white sort of aesthetic that you journey back to your corpse. So the whole story here is, why do you keep coming back? Is there something that is keeping you tethered to Azeroth? And that answer is yes. So within the Shadowlands, it is ruled by one person or one entity, and that is the Arbiter. It is the Arbiter's decision. In a split second, the Arbiter will sort of catch a glimpse or will judge your entire existence on Azeroth. And are you ready to cross over into the Shadowlands, or do you need a little bit more time to actually do what you need to do on Azeroth itself? So, throughout all of your adventures through Azeroth, your character is tethered to Azeroth. So, whenever there's something tethering a soul to a place, the Arbiter cannot take it to the Shadowlands. So that is why you walk through part of the Shadowlands. You're right there on the line between life and the afterlife. So that is what you're seeing as you travel back to your corpse throughout your journeys on Azeroth. So Blizzard did take a lot of player feedback into account when they are developing this X-Pack. So the main thing is a focus on class identity first over specialization identity. So this means moving back some of the class abilities to all specializations that may have been moved into one spec, or even restoring some abilities. As Brian Halinka said during the BlizzCon deep dive, everyone was missing something. There was just that thing that is core to your being that you are missing. Abilities are coming back. The Death Knight class is available for Pandaren and the allied races. And there are new class-specific abilities and new Covenant Soulbinds. We will talk about those in just a moment as well. That will unlock talent trees. There is a power within the Shadowlands called Anima. Anima is the resource that sustains the souls within the Shadowlands. And as we will talk about in just a moment here, there is an anima drought that is currently going on within the Shadowlands. So what about some of the zones of the Shadowlands? So we have the Shadowlands itself, and basically, I gave you a brief rundown of what the Shadowlands are. No one knows quite where the Shadowlands originated from, but they have existed ever since mortal life first arose in the physical universe. And it seems to span all worlds. There are those who believe that mortal souls are drawn to this dark place when they die, remaining there forever. Dark does not mean evil. And that is a huge distinction that you must keep in mind as you travel throughout the Shadowlands. Yes, there are evil things within the Shadowlands, but Just because it is dark does not mean that it is evil. So others hope their souls will go on to a brighter place rather than languish for eternity within the cold confines of the Shadowlands. Mortal souls who cross the veil between life and death are judged by the mysterious Arbiter, as we said before being sent off to one of the infinite realms of the Shadowlands, each ruled by a powerful covenant with its own unique role in maintaining the ecosystem of the afterlife. It is a dimension referred to as a place between worlds, and Ice Crown is an anchor that holds Azeroth to the Shadowlands. It appears as a shadowy version of the real world, and is also the plane where player characters are sent upon reaching zero health. A portion of the Shadowlands serves as the main setting of Shadowlands, of course, as the Shadowlands are also made up of countless other realms. So, some of the zones of World of Warcraft, I do have some screenshots here as well. So here we see Ardenweald. Ardenweald is a level... I'm not going to say levels quite yet. Most of you already know, just from watching BlizzCon. Or if you were at BlizzCon, you already know what's coming next year. So, Ardenweald is ruled by the Winter Queen. And the Winter Queen rules the Night Fae Covenant. The Night Fae is the primary race of Ardenweald. Ardenweald is depicted as an enchanted mystical forest, and it is a dark mirror of the Emerald Dream, where the dream represents the spring and summer of the cycle of life. Ardenweald reflects the autumn and winter. It is a place of rest and hibernation, where spirits of nature are tended to by the Night Fae, who retrieve anima from mortal souls and infuse it into slumbering spirits, rejuvenating their lives with the remnants of the old to prepare them to be reborn into the world of the living. The demigod Cenarius spent time recovering here after his death during the Third War before returning to Azeroth during the events of the Cataclysm. However, Ardenweald isn't all, I hesitate to say, sunshine and rainbows. Oh, the wonders of being live here. So, some parts of Ardenweald aren't faring as well as others, and reflect the power wielded by the Drust of Koltiris. So, Ardenweald is pretty much a mirror of Drustvar. Ardenweald has suffered more keenly from soul drought than any other realm in the Shadowlands. For the first time in endless ages, the Night Fae's Winter Queen must choose which of the land's formerly lush groves and which souls will be fed the last precious drops of anima and which will fade away forever. So, a brief description, if you really weren't paying attention to that. Ardenweald is a vibrant afterlife for those closely connected to the wild. Ardenweald is a domain of endless restoration, tended by the mystic Night Fae. Within this eternal forest, massive dream trees draw in precious anima, soul essence, to feed the spirits of nature awaiting rebirth. So Ardenweald is actually inspired. Blizzard was inspired by a piece of old unused concept art that the art team found during the development of Shadowlands, which depicted a forest with specks of starlight on the ground. The developers initially wanted to include this theme as part of Bastion. We're getting to that one next. Thus splitting the zone between a light heavenly side and a dark celestial forest side. But they eventually decided that the latter idea was unique and interesting enough to deserve its own separate zone. So what you're looking at right now is one of the Night Fae. You can see some of the concept art which was decided upon during the development of Shadowlands. especially the sort of speckled starlight that you see on the ground there. It's sort of glowy. Um, so, those connected to the wild, what does that give you thoughts of? Druids, actually. So, druids are deeply connected to Ardenweald simply because it is a mirror of the Emerald Dream. And druids are deeply rooted within the Emerald Dream itself, as was um, depicted during Legion, where the Druid class hall was the Emerald Dream. So let's move on to Bastion now. So here you can see some concept art from Bastion itself. So Bastion is another realm of the Shadowlands. It's ruled by the Kyrian Covenant. It is a kingdom of pristine spires and crystalline skies. Ordered and purposeful. So if you don't really know about World of Warcraft, there are checks and balances in place. You have light and shadow, you have order and disorder. And Shadowlands actually fits somewhere among the celestial map. Souls that are naturally drawn to service are sent to Bastion by the Arbiter to examine their lives, cleanse themselves of their burdens, and work toward a state of virtue, so they might ascend to serve the Shadowlands as Kyrian, messengers, couriers, and some of the purest souls in the realm of the dead. So fresh arrivals to Bastion will become Kyrian aspirants, wingless beings who train for eons to one day earn their wings and join the ranks of the Ascended. So you can probably think of warriors, paladins, and to expand upon that, the many guards that you meet during your journeys. They are in some sort of service to someone. They're serving in the military. Bastion is also the residence of Uther, the Lightbringer spirit. So those who have lived a life of service are drawn to Bastion and are assumed the highest duty of all, carrying the souls to the Shadowlands. Amongst Bastion's gleaming spires and sleeping vistas await challenges to test the mettle of the steadfast Kyrians. Bastion is a land of Elysian vistas, resplendent skies, gleaming spires, and ethereal sights. So some of the wild creatures that you will meet during your travels throughout Bastion are the Cloud Runners, the Ether Worms, Larian, and Vulpin. So looking at some of this concept art here, you can see some of Bastion's denizens. Here is an excellent representation of the Bastion architecture that you will most likely see as you travel throughout Shadowlands. I just love this shot right here. It just reminds me so much of Titans. Something that was Titan forged. It's just grandiose. And of course, this concept art right here, just showing the ether as it flows throughout the realm. So it is just something that I am very interested in, and I'm definitely looking forward to Shadowlands to see what it actually brings. All right, so next we have Maldraxxus. And you can see some of the concept art and some of the screenshots. So Maldraxxus is one of the realms of the Shadowlands ruled by the Necrolord Covenant. It represents the heart of Shadowlands' military might. It is home to wicked beings like necromancers and abominations, but not everyone here is evil. Relentless warlike souls who never yield and are willing to strive against one another for greatness are welcomed here by the Necrolords. And the greatest of them are reformed by necromancers into undead soldiers who defend the Shadowlands from eternal forces and wage war on the enemies of death. The determined rise to positions of power, while the less promising become fuel for Maldraxx's weapons. This brutal selection process has created a vast militia with a wobbling hierarchy. The realm's longtime leader has vanished, and 5 of the most powerful Necrolords now vie for the role of advancing the cause of death throughout the cosmos. Maldraxxus is the birthplace of necromantic magic and home to the forces that were called upon by the Lich King and the Scourge on Azeroth. So this is where the source of power for the Lich King and the Scourge originated from. But where does Sylvanas fit into all of this? How was she able to defeat Bolvar, as you saw in the cinematic earlier? What actually happened there? Well, we will get to that and much more in just a moment. So let's see now about the next zone. We are going to go to Revendreth. So Revendreth is one of the realms of the Shadowlands ruled by the Venthyr Covenant. It is a land of gothic spires and dark secrets, and it's not one that souls hope to be sent to. Souls sent here by the Arbiter tend to be prideful or have some other flaw, blocking them from serving in one of the other realms, and they come here to atone for their sins and hopefully be redeemed. It is the duty of the vampiric Venthyr to prepare the souls through unimaginable torment. Although the realm is mostly shrouded in darkness, there are parts of Revendreth where light has broken through the clouds and seared the earth. Many of the souls in Revendreth are vulnerable to the light and have been chained up in these areas. It is a realm of looming keeps and gothic villages. Revendreth is home to the Venthyr, the harvesters of sin. The wretched souls who arrive here may find penance for their misdeeds, or merely indulge the appetites of their keepers. So there is a dungeon within Revendreth. It is Castle Nathria. It is a max level dungeon, and we will also be talking about dungeons here in just a moment. So let's now talk about Oribos. I don't have any screenshots of Oribos, but it is a very ancient city that serves as the player hub in the Shadowlands. It is the home of the Arbiter. It predates memory and is of unknown construction. It serves as a nexus between the various domains of the Shadowlands and is a gathering point for power brokers, wheelers, dealers, and soul traders. Oribos serves as the central player hub of the Shadowlands, as I mentioned before. So this is where you will first end up when you enter the Shadowlands. At this particular crossroads, you are judged by the impassive Arbiter before being sent to your final destination. And Oribos' denizens swap gossip and anima, soulful stuff that serves as both power and currency. If you haven't figured it out already, the name Oribos is inspired by the Ouroboros, a symbol of a snake or dragon eating its own tail as a representation of the cycle of life and death. So let's take a look at one of the features. But before we get into one of the features here, let's first talk about some of the other interesting parts about Shadowlands. So there are new races and factions, as we have already discussed already. There are 4 covenants and their sanctums. The steadfast Kyrian of Bastion, whose discipline and duty compels them to safeguard souls in the mortal realm as they pass into the Shadowlands. The mysterious Night Fae of Ardenweald, who fiercely defend the spirits of nature from those who would deprive them of rebirth. The cunning Venthyr of Revendreth, who feast on the souls of the prideful and vain in a gothic realm of opulence, and torment. The warlike Necrolords of Maldraxxus, who forge the undead armies that serve as the first line of defense for the Shadowlands, and honor those who seek power and glory in battle. There is a high-end storyline similar to the war campaign, currently featured in Battle for Azeroth, called the Covenant Campaign. There will be one campaign for Covenant, and each faction will have its own unique storyline. Each playable race will have its own unique options available to them. So let's take a look at those customization options. So right here you can see some troll customization options, some of the interesting markings that you can fully customize. And for some reason my slideshow is not progressing. I don't know why. Just give me a minute and I will be able to fix that for you. I have no idea what's going on right here. Oh boy, this is embarrassing. There are 4 screenshots that I would love to show right now, but for some reason it's not really working out too well. Let's see if I can fix this real quick. Okay, I think I got it here. All right, yep, there we go. All right, so here we have some further customization options for the Forsaken or the Undead. Of course, dwarves get some much needed love as well. Fully customize them as well. And finally, humans. So some much needed customization options for humans. Player feedback, of course. So before we get into some end level, some top level things here, what about new? What about new players? Where do they start out? So there is a new starting zone. It's called Exile's Reach. It is an uncharted island ruled by an ogre necromancer, and it is a starting zone. The Horde and Alliance set an expedition here, but they were never heard of again. The novice adventurer is part of another expedition, which is sent to figure out what happened to that original expedition. So what levels for Exile's Reach? So let's get into how the game itself is changing for Shadowlands. The new level cap is level 60. All current 120 players will become level 50 and will progress into the Shadowlands from there. So what does this mean for brand new players who have never played World of Warcraft before? who are just creating a fresh, brand new level 1 character and are setting out into the world for the very first time. The brand new level 1 character will go directly to Exile's Reach and will play through that initial starting zone experience. So the island has big mountains, vistas, waterfalls, dark forests, and a variety of well-known enemies. It includes a mini dungeon of 2 bosses. So the Exile's Reach would be for level 1 to 10 players, who, depending on if they are an alt or if they are a brand new player, will be able to choose any one of the expansions after Exile's Reach, or for brand new players, or for existing players, leveling up alts, you can choose to start out in your race's starting area. It's going to be a revamped starting experience. Rather than redoing the starting experiences, Blizzard wants to revamp it, make it more interesting. And Exile's Reach is just one of those options. So, as soon as you reach 10, you'll be able to choose any one of World of Warcraft's expansions for existing players. For new players, they will level from 10 to 50 in Battle for Azeroth. So why Battle for Azeroth? It represents the latest expansion. It is the expansion that mostly everyone is going to be in, and it will get those players with their friends, leveling with their friends, going through dungeons, scenarios, and shared experiences together with friends. For existing players, as I had already mentioned, existing players will be able to choose any one of World of Warcraft's expansions to level from 10 to 50 in. You can choose Burning Crusade, if you like, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Mists of Pandaria. I almost forgot that one. It's honestly one of my least favorite expansions, is Mists of Pandaria. Warlords of Draenor, which, if I ever level an alt up, it's probably going to be that one. I just like the atmosphere of Warlords of Draenor. The music, just the general immersion of it. Or you could even choose to level up from 10 to 50 in Battle for Azeroth. Alright, so throughout Shadowlands are 8 dungeons, 4 level up dungeons, and 4 max level dungeons. The 4 level up dungeons are kind of like how it was in Legion and some other expansions, where you go through the dungeon at the end of a storyline. The 4 level up dungeons are the Necrotic Wake, Plaguefall, Mist of Tyrna Scythe, and Halls of Atonement. The 4 max level dungeons, again, there are always some max level dungeons: Spires of Ascension, Theater of Pain, The Other Side. Which bring us into Torghast. Torghast is what you see above Icecrown Citadel in the cinematic. It is a mirror of Icecrown Citadel, actually. And what Torghast, the Tower of the Damned, it's a new dungeon within World of Warcraft Shadowlands that sits at the center of the Maw. And the Maw is something... Hold your horses, we're going to get there in just a second. It is an endlessly replayable, ever-changing dungeon that you can challenge alone or in a group. I have a feeling Blizzard took some pointers from Island Expeditions here, where every experience is slightly different. Different enemies, different layouts. It'll be the same basic thing in Torghast. If you defeat enough of Torghast's unpredictable challenges, You'll be rewarded with unique abilities and items to ensure your present survival or bolster your next run. So, kind of like withered training from Legion. The further you progress, the greater your likelihood of retrieving materials to craft the legendary weapons. And yes, legendaries are returning in Shadowlands, which will also help you restore balance to the Shadowlands. So, what I was saying about where Sylvanas is getting her power from. This would be the mysterious Jailer, also known as the Jailer of the Damned. And this is an ancient evil who rules the Maw of the Shadowlands. Very little is known since nothing has ever escaped the Maw. The Maw is actually growing, it's overflowing with souls, where every soul was supposed to be judged by the Arbiter and sent into one of the other realms of the Shadowlands. The Jailer is taking all those souls. The Jailer and Sylvanas are taking all those souls and sending them to the Maw. So what happened at Teldrassil? All of those souls are now being tormented within the Maw, thanks to Sylvanas and the Jailer. So those new souls are making both the Jailer and Sylvanas ever more powerful, which is how Bolvar was defeated on the Frozen Throne. The Jailer is the main antagonist and central driving force of Shadowlands. So, despite fan speculation, the Jailer is intended to be a new character and not someone that players have met before. The silhouette of his head kind of looks like the Helm of Domination. Similarly, the top of Torghast of the Torghast Tower of the Damned looks like the top of Icecrown Citadel. The Jailer is presumably the person who impersonated the Loa and told Vol'jin to make Sylvanas the War Chief, seeing as he and Sylvanas are now allies. And he may also have been the being that Odin sacrificed an eye to in order to see the Shadowlands. Alright, so as I had mentioned before, the expansion will smooth out the leveling experience and better prepare new adventurers for what's to come. So the experience curve is adjusted to make it faster than ever to prepare for the newest challenges, and each level along the way will provide more meaningful increases in progress and in power. All expansion zones are getting more flexible as well. They'll be able to scale to you and your friends while you level to 50, so it's easy to try a zone that you've never played before. You can still outlevel dungeons and crush them for transmogs or fulfillment. So don't worry, this is not necessarily a level squish, as it is just a reimagining of how the leveling process works. So rather than going to 130, it's just going to 60. A much more manageable number as well. So levels 1 to 10 is a journey for new players. New characters will embark on the introductory voyage to learn about everything there is to do in Azeroth, including the first mini dungeon, the 2-boss mini dungeon that I mentioned before. So the introductory voyage, of course, goes to Exile's Reach. Once the new players reach level 10, you'll be able to pick your era, in which you can play the latest expansion, Battle for Azeroth, or you can follow Chromie back in time and tackle any other expansion you choose, with challenges that scale to characters levels 1 or at level 10 through 50. And finally, once you reach level 50, you will be able to enter the Shadowlands and level from 50 to 60. Stand shoulder to shoulder with legends of the past as you fight to preserve the universe. There are updates to professions and weekly loot chests, and new legendaries through the Forge of Domination and Domination Armor. So some of the prominent figures, of course, is Sylvanas Windrunner, Bolvar Foredragon, Uther the Lightbringer, who struggles against dark forces that seek to transform him into a symbol of retribution, Kael'thas Sunstrider, who pursues vengeance on an enemy from his past while confined to Revendreth for the crimes he committed in life, Draka, whose spirit has risen to prominence within the Necrolords of Maldraxxus, Tyrande Whisperwind, who is still very upset about what happened to her people, that what happened being the burning of Teldrassil, which is going to lead her to Ardenweald, the Archon, leader of the Kyrian in Bastion, the Winter Queen, who is the ruler of the Night Fae in Ardenweald, the Arbiter, who is found in Orboz, and finally the Jailer, who is found in the Maw. So when is this all going to be released? We don't know. The only information that we have so far is that it will be released on or before December 31st, 2020. For those who want to jump straight into the action, there are 4 options. The base option will grant you access to the Shadowlands once it releases, a new world containing the 5 new zones, which I have mentioned, and the city of Orboz, 4 covenants to join, each with a unique sanctum, new class-specific abilities, and covenant soulbinds that unlock talent trees, all new dungeons and raids. As an upgrade, you can choose the Heroic Edition, which includes everything from the base edition, plus a level 120 character boost that you can use immediately, immediate access to the Ensorcerelled Everworm Flying Mount, which grants a quest for the vestments of the Eternal Traveler Transmog set. I do not have any screenshots of these. I'm sorry. Epic Edition includes everything from the Heroic Edition, plus, for the first time ever in World of Warcraft history, 30 games of game time. The Anima Wormling Pet, the Eternal Traveler's Hearthstone, and Illusion Ratshill Cosmetic Weapon Effect. Unfortunately, it cannot be applied to certain weapon types. So who wants to see that cinematic just one more time before we wrap up here? All right, let's do it. Sorry about the delay there, folks, but there is a 30-second delay, of course, with live streaming. So let's go ahead and show one more time before we wrap up the World of Warcraft Shadowlands announcement cinematic. Here we go.
Ice Crown. A monument to our suffering. The veil between life and death. Where a usurper sits on a frozen throne. But no king rules forever. Are unfit to wear this crown. To wield so much power.
That power will be your prison.
This world is a prison. Set us all free.
That is just an awesome cinematic, and I can watch it over and over again. Once again, the cinematic team did an amazing job with that particular cinematic itself. So, definitely looking forward to Shadowlands and everything that it has to offer. All right, so I think it's time that we wrap things up now. And just a few thoughts that I have regarding the brand new expansion. Legion itself was great. It had a very enthralling storyline, and it was very easy to get fully immersed into the story of Legion. Then you have Battle for Azeroth. What the heck happened there? The story could have been a whole lot better than what it was. Personally, I am more of a PvE person. I like the PvE aspects of every expansion. Honestly, and feel free to disagree with me, my favorite expansion was Warlords of Draenor. That was my favorite expansion. Not only from a gameplay standpoint, but it was immersive. It told a deep story within that expansion. Not to mention, as someone who loves music, the music was fantastic as well. Not saying that the music of any other expansion wasn't good, but it was the music of Warlords of Draenor that really got me involved with that particular expansion. Legion was great. I love Legion, and the music of Dalaran will forever be burned into my mind. Just looking back, at sitting there for hours just waiting to form a group for a raid with a guild that I was a member of. And together, one of my greatest achievements that I ever did, and I never thought that I'd be able to do this, was we got through Heroic Nighthold. We got ahead of the curve. I will never try a Mythic raid, ever. I don't play nearly enough to actually gear myself up to become a Mythic raider. Mythic dungeons, yes, to a certain extent, but Mythic raids, no. I will never do that. One of my hopes for Shadowlands is that I know it's going to have Mythic dungeons. I hope it does not have Mythic-only dungeons. Mythic-only dungeons is pretty much what did it in for me for World of Warcraft. I'm not quitting by any means, but it's one of the things that got me less interested in actually doing instances within World of Warcraft. So I hope going forward the development team realizes that Mythic-only dungeons only hurts rather than helps. All right, so I think it is definitely time that we wrap this thing up right now. So I do want to thank all of you for joining us on our premiere live stream event of Warcraft Daily. And I had so much fun doing this, I think it's going to be a weekly thing. So throughout the week, we'll come up with content, and we will present that at our next live stream event, which will be next Tuesday. Next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Pacific. So once again, this is Warcraft Daily. Have fun in Azeroth.